So, as an Asian American who has gone through school mostly in Taiwan, um, because I was born in the US, my English was developed in the US. But then I moved to Taiwan. And so I realized this big problem when it comes to teaching languages, and in this case, like English specifically. Now, you might be wondering, what is this big problem that I guess most education has wrong with language learning? And that is speaking. Within the education and language that I have mainly experienced, there was this really big emphasis on grammar and vocabulary. And that's not to say that these aren't important, but I mean, as a native speaker, I'd assume most of us don't really focus on grammar and vocab, that kind of stuff. And the thing is, when we learn about these things, the best way to go about learning this stuff is by listening and actually engaging with real life language and not just language taught in like textbooks. So today I'll give you 3 tips as someone who's an avid learner and also who's trying to learn a lot more languages, how to really improve your language learning and not be stuck to stuff like vocabulary or like learning grammar and caring about maybe just like intonation in the language you're learning. So this doesn't just apply to English. Tip number uno is to listen, listen, and listen. And I think we've all been a child, and the reason we have mother languages or native tongues, I guess, is because we were born by our parents or by our mothers, and then we learned to speak their language because we listened to their conversations and we listened to people around us who essentially speak the same language. And through this collection of words and the process of all these words and conversations, we learn to have conversations. And that's why one of the first words that children learn is papa or mama or whatever. It's because parents usually, I don't know why this happens, but people like to go to their children and say, "Oh, say mama, say papa." And what's their first word? Papa and mama, because they learned it through listening. And the second tip is to copy and like actually try to copy someone. So, just for a random example, we could try to copy just some like random TED Talk that we watched. Maybe we like their accent. Maybe we like the way that they just talk. Maybe it's the sound of their voice. Maybe it's the intonation. Maybe you realize there's a lot of pauses. So one of the biggest problems I see when it comes to foreigners learning English is that they don't connect words together. And so, for example, as a native speakers, we'll say something like, "I don't want to do this," whatever. But someone who's less familiar or less fluent with the language would say, "I don't want to do this." See? And so they don't connect words together. And it's not to say that one's better or worse, but at the same time, there are different accents. Maybe you do enjoy a Chinglish or a Singlish and any type of way you speak. But if you want to achieve a certain type of accent, then one of the best ways is to just copy someone. And yeah, that's okay. And also try to let go of your habits in a different language. For example, you wouldn't want to speak Japanese the way you speak English, right? 私はジュジュです. But if you speak an American or like in like an American accent, it'd be like 私はジュジュです, and it sounds really weird. Now my final tip is to talk as much as you can, because language, in the end, it is a tool for us to communicate. Why is English such a popular language? It's because Western society has kind of dominated throughout history. Right now, I'm not going to do too much commentary on that, but any language, it doesn't have to be English, languages are used for communication, and they let us express ideas, they let us express ourselves. And so you have to have a motivation to kind of discuss things with people, or maybe even just consume things, right? I have friends who have learned Japanese for the reason of learning how to cook, because maybe they like Japanese cuisines. They want to learn how to make like a tamago, or maybe watching a Japanese video on how to do that could be, you know, better than maybe an American or some British guy doing that kind of stuff, right? And so to have a purpose on like learning, right? It's the same thing for anything. You want to have a reason to learn something. And so when you engage in conversation, you most likely will be motivated to learn more about the language and the culture, and like just how to express yourself in a certain language. So to summarize, we talked about listening, copying, and just talking to people. And so to those who want to improve their language skills, I'll give you guys a few actionable tips. So when it comes to listening, I recommend either finding a podcast or maybe a YouTube video in that language. And I recommend it to be something of your interest. Maybe you're interested in fashion, then go watch a fashion YouTube video that's within that stuff. And yeah, stuff like that. Second thing for copying, I recommend finding like a TED Talk. Maybe it's a speech, or maybe you can also use songs. Right, songs are also like a way to learn languages, and I think I personally am doing that right now, and I found it to be really engaging and just motivating, because I get to sing the songs I enjoy, and I get to kind of learn the intonations, and also I get to know what I'm saying. Right, it's the perfect combination. And the last thing is talk. So we can find some friends. Maybe we know some friends who speak this language, or there's a lot of like online communities and groups, either Discord, whatever. There's too many groups you can find on your own. And yeah, just practice the language. I mean, with AI developing so rapidly, you could probably even talk to AI, and yeah, you really get to develop your skills. So yeah, I hope you all have a great journey when it comes to learning a language, and if anyone is interested in having like English lessons, well, feel free to message me through my Gmail or Instagram. And yeah, feel free to comment about any other suggestions, or maybe some languages you want to learn, or just like video topics you want to hear about. So yeah, best of luck to you all.